Before you visit the Philippines, there are a few things you really should know. Not just what's in the travel blogs, but the stuff that can save you time, money, and maybe a hospital visit. I lived there for 13 years, and trust me, this is the kind of advice I wish I got before my first trip. So, you're thinking of visiting the Philippines? Maybe it's your first time. Maybe you saw a photo of El Nido on Instagram and said, "That's it, I'm going." Or maybe someone told you Filipinos are the friendliest people on earth. Well, they are. But there's a lot more to the Philippines than smiles and sunsets. After more than a decade there, I made all the classic mistakes, from ferry disasters to visa surprises, hospital horror stories, and yeah, even a few good decisions. So in this video, I'm breaking down the real-life essentials, what to expect, what to avoid, and what nobody tells you until it's too late. This is part 1, and by the end, you'll already be smarter than half the tourists arriving at Naya Airport next week. Let's go! When to visit? Sun, storms, and surprise boat rides. Let's start with the question everyone asks. When's the best time to visit the Philippines? Well, that depends. Do you like sunburns? Or typhoons? The Philippines has 2 main seasons: dry, from December to May, and wet, from June to November. That's it. Forget spring, autumn, or whatever they have in Europe. It's either beach party or soggy shorts. Dry season is the sweet spot. Clear skies, perfect sunsets, and all the Instagram shots you want. But here's the catch. From March to May, especially in April, it gets hot. I'm talking oven-level humidity, up to 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's before noon. If you're heat sensitive, this is when you start negotiating with the aircon like it's a hostage situation. Then comes wet season, a mix of sunshine and tropical mood swings. August and September are when the rain really hits, pouring down like there's no tomorrow. Also, typhoons don't always make landfall, but they love to mess with your travel plans anyway, canceling boats, flights, and your will to unpack. And don't get me started on Holy Week. It's dry season, yes, but the entire country takes a vacation. Traffic? Wild. Bus stations? Madness. Ferry tickets? Sold out yesterday. It's a spiritual experience, with a side of logistical trauma. Now, a true story. I was heading home to Bantayan Island from Cebu City. It was drizzling windy, and there was a typhoon 2 days away. Not even close yet. I took the bus to Hagnaya Port, only to hear, "Sorry, sir, the last 2 ferries have been canceled." Now here's where the local entrepreneurial spirit kicks in. Guys with bamboo pump boats suddenly appear. "Sir, we can take you. No problem. Fast boat." Very safe. Yeah, very safe. In the way riding a banana leaf through whitewater might be safe. It costs 3 to 4 times more than the ferry. But I was with a group of tough locals who were heading back anyway, and me being me, I thought, let's go. The boat ride was wavy, wet, and terrifying. I arrived home soaked, with a backpack that looked like it had been scuba diving. Today, I'd probably stay overnight and wait for the weather to chill. Also, fun detail, that trip was technically illegal, so we had to walk 200 meters away from the actual port to board, like we were doing something shady, because we were. Natural surprises? Just a heads up. The Philippines sits on the Ring of Fire. So, yes, earthquakes happen almost every day somewhere. In my 13 years living here, I felt maybe 6 or 7 decent quakes. You're unlikely to experience one, but if a table starts dancing, just step away from the windows and let it finish its number. There are also active volcanoes like Taal, Mayon, and Canlaon. Eruptions are rare, but when they do happen, they can ground flights or cover your vacation selfie spot in ash. It is not a daily worry, just something to be aware of if you re near those areas. On a brighter note, festivals. This is when the Philippines goes full chaos in color. You've probably heard of Sinulog in Cebu or Ati-Atihan in Calibo. Absolute mayhem in the best way. But one of my personal favorites is Danag Yang in Iloilo. Pure energy, tribal beats, and face paint that stays on longer than your travel plans. If you're into flowers and cooler weather, go to Baguio in February for Panagbenga. Think floral floats, dancers, and zero chance of sweating through your shirt by 9 in the morning. And don't miss Parol Regatta, also in Iloilo. It's a sailboat race, but the boats look like they were designed by artists on acid. Beautiful, colorful, fast, and totally Filipino. So, when should you go? Want sunshine and street parties? January to April. Want lower prices and fewer crowds? Try June to November, but bring a raincoat and flexible plans. Hate heat? Head to the mountains in December. Baguio, Sagada, or even Tagaytay. And whatever month you pick, just know the Philippines always delivers something. Visa rules, entry, extensions, and why you shouldn't overstay. All right, you've checked the weather, booked your ticket, and packed your flip-flops. But what about the visa? The good news. The Philippines is one of the easiest countries in Asia to enter as a tourist. If you're from most Western countries, like the US, UK, Canada, Australia, or most of Europe, you get a 30-day visa-free on arrival. No paperwork, no interviews. Just a smile at immigration, a stamp, and you're in. But quick reminder, that's 30 calendar days, not 1 month. So, if you arrive on March 1st, you better be out by March 30th, not 31st. They count carefully, and they love fines. Extending your stay is easy if you do it on time. You can renew your visa at the Bureau of Immigration offices. First extension gives you another 29 days. Then you can keep extending in 1 or 2 month chunks, up to 36 months total on a tourist visa. No need to leave the country every 30 days. That's why many long-term visitors love the Philippines, including me. I stayed there for over a decade, doing those extensions every few months. But timing matters. Here's a little personal story. I was living in Manila at the time, and my visa expired on a Sunday. I thought, no big deal. I'll just go on Monday like the rest of the chill country. Well, I did get the extension, but I also got hit with a 500 pesos fine. Would have been smarter to go on Thursday. Lesson learned. Pro tip. After your second extension, you're required to get an ACRI card. That's your official foreigner ID. It's nothing fancy, but you'll need it for things like opening a local bank account, applying for some utilities or long-term rentals. Avoiding raised eyebrows at certain checkpoints. You don't get it immediately. It takes a few weeks. But once you have it, keep it safe. It's basically your permission slip to stick around without drama. About your flight in. Some airlines and immigration officers may ask for proof of onward travel, a return ticket or a flight out of the Philippines. It doesn't matter where. Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, anywhere. Just something to show you are not secretly planning to start a new life on a hammock in Boracay. It's worth it, because if you don't have one, there's a chance you could be denied boarding at your departure airport. You can use onward ticket services for a small fee if you're not sure of your plans yet. Whatever you do, don't overstay. But let me tell you something. I heard from another expat. You can overstay by a day or two, and it's usually just a small fine. He overstayed by a couple of years. Thought he could just pay the fine and walk out, unless you seriously push your luck. Instead, he got detained and sent to Bicutan. That's a holding facility in Manila, where they send foreigners with serious overstay issues. And that place? Not where you want to spend your last week in the Philippines. So yes, you'll usually just pay a fine. The bottom line? 30 days free for most travelers. Easy extensions if done on time. Get your ACR card. if you're staying a while. Have an onward ticket. Don't test immigration. They're friendlier than most countries, but they still mean business. And here's one last thing a lot of people overlook. The Philippine government loves a good online form, and the rules? They change more often than the weather. Sometimes you'll need to complete an e-travel registration before arriving. Sometimes it's required before departure. Not fun. Sometimes it disappears entirely. And if you've stayed in the country for 6 months or more, you might need an ECC exit clearance certificate just to leave. A friend of mine showed up at the airport after a long stay, ready to fly out, but was denied boarding because he didn't have the ECC. He had to reschedule, go back to immigration, and sort it out. So here's my advice. Always double-check the rules before you arrive, and especially before you leave. Things change, sometimes without notice. I will leave the link to the official Bureau of Immigration website in a pinned comment below this video. That's always the best place to check the latest requirements. Stay informed, and your trip will go smoothly, like fresh buko juice on a hot day. Medical care. Don't wait until it hurts. Let's talk about something that most tourists ignore until it's too late. Medical care in the Philippines can be totally fine, or a complete nightmare, depending on where you are and how lucky you get. So here's what you really need to know before you travel. There are no mandatory vaccinations, but a few are recommended, like hepatitis A and B, maybe typhoid if you're going rural. But spoiler, I never had any. Not one. So yeah, that's up to you and your doctor. But what's not optional? Travel insurance. Especially if you're over 40 or not exactly Iron Man level fit. Big cities equals decent care. In places like Manila, Cebu, Iloilo, or Davao, you'll find private hospitals with air conditioning, English-speaking staff, and doctors who actually talk to you like a human. You'll pay out of pocket, but at least you won't come out worse than you went in. But step outside those cities. Here is what happens when the hospital is really just a room with a fan and a guy named Junjun with a bandage. Story 1. Bantayan Horror. I heard this from a long-term expat on Bantayan Island. He got into an accident, was taken to the local Bantayan Town Hospital. Now, this was about 15 years ago, and that place looked like a butcher shop. He had a badly injured leg, and they actually told him they needed to amputate. He ran away from the hospital, somehow made it to Cebu City, got treated properly, and yes, they saved the leg. So yeah, location really matters. Story 2. Iloilo. My mistake. I once had unbearable abdominal pain while in Iloilo. My girlfriend took me to a public hospital because I wasn't thinking clearly. At first, they checked my blood pressure, then nothing, for nearly 2 hours. Eventually, they put me on a bed in the hallway, just separated by a thin curtain. The doctor came, asked a few questions, and then said, "You need to stay overnight." I asked, "Why? What's the problem?" She answered, "If it gets worse, we'll cut." I looked at my girlfriend, then at my expat friend who showed up, and I said, "Get me out of here, now." We left. The doctor gave me a prescription for what she said was a strong painkiller. I took 1 dose, passed out at home, and woke up better the next morning. Before taking the second pill, I checked online. It was an ulcer medication. If I had something serious, like internal bleeding, that pill could have made things worse. So, yeah, public hospitals? Only if you have no other choice. Final tips. Bring your own meds, painkillers, antihistamines, diarrhea pills. Know where the nearest private hospital is before you need it. Make sure someone you trust is with you if things go bad. Sometimes you won't be able to think clearly. Don't expect doctors to explain much. Ask questions, double-check meds, and trust your gut. Bottom line? You don't need a medical degree, but you do need common sense. Or at least someone beside you who has it. Medical care in the Philippines isn't free, and it isn't always consistent. But with some planning, insurance, and a bit of street smarts, you'll be fine, and hopefully never need any of this advice. Alright, that's it for part 1. We've covered the basics: weather, visas, medical care. The things most people don't think about until it's too late. But there's more coming. In the next part, I'll talk about money, choosing where to stay, and a few tips that could make or break your trip, especially if it's your first time here. So if this was helpful, stay tuned. Part 2 drops in a few days.